Hello, my name is Ashley Russell. For my final presentation video, I have chosen to discuss the force of continuum. Throughout this course, I am learning that a police officer has many duties to fulfill when protecting, serving, and enforcing the law. Within the many duties of a police officer, they should be considerate to the use of force they use when handling a situation. It is especially important today. However, what is use of force? Use of force is when a police officer makes a required decision to subdue someone who may not be compliant in a situation. To help a police officer choose the best decision in a scenario legally and morally, it would be ideal for them to refer and use the force of continuum to help make the best decision. Although the force of continuum can vary per departments, the one we learned about in this class is about 5 categories on how a police officer could handle and analyze a situation. So what is the force of continuum? Let's talk about it. Here, I have drawn a pyramid similar to our textbook model that discusses the 5 tiers in the force of continuum. The first tier is verbal communication. The second tier is open hand or empty hand control. The third tier is moderate force. The fourth tier is less lethal options. And the highest 5th tier is deadly force. Let's talk about communication. Verbal communication is where a police officer may handle a circumstance with words. Dr. George J. Thompson effectively created verbal judo, which is a system to de-escalate a situation with use of verbal tactics to get verbal compliance. In this case, a police officer may positively redirect a situation with a perpetrator through words. In the second tier, open hand or empty hand control, there may be times when verbal communication may not be effective when gaining compliance. So an officer may resort to open hand control, which is when they could use their bare hands in combat to gain control of a situation. This use of force would be without weapons, but through punching, kicking, or grappling techniques. Interestingly, though, the textbook states that some officers may take martial arts, Krav Maga, or Judo, for example, to help them learn effective techniques to minimize the dangers to oneself as well as those involved. In the third tier, moderate force, if hand-to-hand combat is not effective, police officers could use non-lethal weapons to gain compliance from a suspect in a situation. Non-lethal weapon options could include pepper spray or tear gas. A police officer could easily take control of a situation if they were to pepper spray someone to temporarily stun them in enough time to gain compliance. In the fourth tier, less lethal options, these would be to gain compliance from a subject in a situation where non-lethal options are effective. These can include electronically controlled weapons or a police baton. An example of an electronically controlled weapon would include a taser. A taser is using an electric shock, surprisingly up to 35 feet, to subdue someone to gain compliance. In the 5th tier, deadly force, this would be used in a situation when law enforcement may need to cause physical injury or death to gain control over a situation and should ideally be used as a last resort. A police officer may use a handgun, rifle, baton, vehicle, a knife, or anything to gain control of a situation. Even though ideally it would be nice to go through each level in the force of continuum, it's not always possible. I've been learning in this class, it's not always an option. In order to keep yourself, civilians, or fellow officers safe, a police officer may need to analyze a situation and use what they feel is best to handle that. As you can see, it is highly important for a police officer to be able to determine and analyze a situation quickly. However, hopefully they can internally remember the force of continuum and how they will choose to react to a situation. And with that, this is the end of my video presentation. Thank you for watching, and I've had a lot of fun while learning in your class. I hope to have you as a professor again in the future. Bye.